Well, I don't know. Well, look at this picture. You can get like that hazy light dust storm. But what I wanted you to see here was how that soil has been scalloped out and scooped out. And one might wonder how you can make anything of this again. Well, those people that lived through the 30s, and some of you that raised your hands know this very well, and you mentioned this when we were talking before we got going. Your parents ran a hotel. And what did you tell them? When it was dirty, they couldn't keep anything clean. It was just maddening, terrible. But I remember my parents talking about this. And those of you that lived through it understand, look, they're shoveling dirt like you shovel snow. And this would have been a recurring fact of life during much of those blow months in the early spring. Once in a while, maybe in the summertime too. Then it kind of trails off, and it's not as dirty during the rest of the year. But certainly an adjustment in all of that. And it's kind of we live in a little different gender time here, I know. But this was certainly an obligation of a housewife to keep things clean. And I remember my parents talking. And then that's what I suspect you remember too. People take their keyholes in, right? So the dirt would blow in the keyholes around the windows. And you stuff some rags underneath the door. And maybe you sleep with a wet sheet over your bed like mosquito netting. And still the dust gets in. If you're a dentist, that's a problem. If you're a surgeon, that's a problem. If you're a housewife, this is a problem to be sure. So it's all permeating, and it affects everybody that lives through this period. You had to make an adjustment. This is one of the things I particularly want you to see, and this is something that Springfield, Colorado hospitals dealt with throughout this period. You go to the local hardware store and get dust masks, like painter's masks. The Red Cross distributed them, that kind of thing. And it's of no small consequence because the dust that's blowing had a high silica content. And over a period of time, it had sort of a chronic effect on the body like lead poisoning. But it also cut into the lungs. And the doctors, he had bronchial infections, spitting it out, you can't breathe. Doctors simply called it dust pneumonia because they didn't know what else to call it. But it's something that affected senior citizens, like me, I guess, and very young. And there were a number of deaths in the Springfield Hospital in 34 and 35 and 36 because of this. Sort of like miners. I was looking at the exhibit, the mining exhibit here. You might take a look at that. One of the captions talking about, was it quartz getting into miners' lungs? Same effect. Similar to that, yeah. So you breathe much of this, you can have some very serious health problems. And then just getting around. It affects life in ever so many ways. It affects railroads. It brought them to a halt. Because you get dust on railroad tracks, you lose friction. And those wheels just spun. And so you had to have crews come out with brooms and shovels, and they get rid of the drifts like they're doing here. Big locomotive, you would think it could be brought to a halt. There you have people shoveling the tracks clear like snow. One of the other features of dust storms was that had a high static electricity, I don't want to say content, but when you had dust storms, you had a lot of static electricity. Touch a pump handle, touch a fence, touch anything metal, pow, zap. You got something, you feel it. It messed up the ignition system of your automobile. And it just stalled it out. So what you had to do was wait out the dust storm. Some of you guys remember you had distributors in the old days. You had to pop those off, blow off your points, get the dust out, put your cap back on, and you could probably get down get down the road. Whether this car is stalled out because of the ignition system being messed up, or whether it just got stuck with dust across that road, I don't know. But nonetheless, that's something that you have to deal with. I like this picture. I like this picture because if you read the evidence, it tells you a lot, I think, about the human condition and about perseverance. Got a couple of girls. They're at the pump. We know it's, we know that it's probably early spring. They got their coats on. And we know it's not snow. The exposure isn't great here, right? But we know this isn't snow. Why? You don't cover your nose in a snowstorm, right there. I've always wondered what that cup of water looked like when they got done here. In the back, you can see kind of hazy, I mean, those light, hazy, dusty days. I don't know, school or church function or whatnot. But, you know, the adjustment of life on the part of ever so many people is something that I think it's hard for me at least to understand, and maybe you can grapple with that too. Here's something that was also characteristic of this period. I remember my dad telling me about this, and at best I suspect this is true of you. It's not exactly explainable, but there was high concentration of rabbits. My guess is with the so much vegetation dying, you get a higher concentration of rabbits in certain areas. And so on Sunday afternoons, it was just a fun thing to do. You go out and have a rabbit drive, you know. You get the town out, you start about in a mile circle or so, and then you just drive into the center, right? Isn't that how it went? Your baseball bat and your club, and this would not go well today. Well, let me tell you, but it was part of the environmental condition and response of people then. But fun Sunday afternoon, it does feel like, I guess. But this is bad. But when you think of the dirty 30s, the black blizzards certainly are a consequence, but you just have a lot of kind of nasty, dirty days that aren't black blizzards, but they're dust storms that roll through, and they're gone, and people move on with their lives and sort of get accustomed to them, I think, to the extent that you can. Well, the question is, what do you do about this? Wow. Government agent of some sort, and what do you do about it? Farmers can't do anything about it. This is an environmental condition that's far beyond the capability of any individual to do anything. So you need some help. State governments don't have the expertise or the money. Who can help? Really only the federal government. It has the monetary capacity, to a great extent the technical expertise to do something. But the key is, nobody knew what. They made this up as they went along.